as we continue our tour of Tractor World 2025, we are now at the International Harvester Club of Great Britain. And the chairman, standing right next to me, is Mr. Mark Simmons. And he's going to show us around some of the things they've got on display at this exhibit. How are you, sir?
Very good, thank you, Simon. Yeah, nice
right,
to see you.
let's, now before we were on camera, Mark was just explaining to me something that's important and the theme of their exhibit here. So just, as we can't hear, tell us what it is.
Well, what we've got, we're making a big thing this year. The B250 is 70 years old. So we've got quite a nice display, and they're all different, because there's a lot of differences. The B250 was introduced in 1955.
Right.
And then replaced in 1958, the B275 came along. So, and then the Bradford built tractors.
Yeah.
Built in the old Jowett works.
I was going to say it was the old Jowett car factory, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. So lovely competitor to the 35 and the Dexter, really.
Yeah,
so, And but as you can see, that is the oldest. That is the 26th off the production line.
So this one here, then, this beautifully restored one here.
Yes.
And it is really a peach.
Yes.
That's the number 26.
Number 26 off the production line.
Now we know the B250. We're talking about it. I mean, at the time, it was actually a modern tractor. It was compact. It was stylish for a start compared to what other stuff was out there. But what is it that really made it special, do you think, all those years ago?
It had got diff lock. It had got inboard brakes, which the Dexter and the 35 didn't.
No, they were drums, weren't they?
Drums, and these are inboard brakes. Live hydraulics. So, didn't have a live PTO on the B250, but when the B275 came out, it got a live PTO as well.
Live PTO as well.
Yeah.
So actually, what we're saying then, in its day, it actually set a standard because having a diff lock was unusual, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Fortune didn't have a diff lock on those.
And it didn't come out on the 35 until the 35X, or just before the 35X.
So this was a tractor that was actually...
It was way ahead of its competitors.
We were way ahead of its game, and that's 70 years, which is hard to believe, isn't it? And to see that there's still a following where people are still looking after them and restoring them and everything else.
I'm sorry, I pointed out the wrong one. This is the 26th off the line.
All right.
But
this is the 26th.
This is the 26th. I was stood by the wrong one.
You can't get it right all the time, you know.
Confused. Too many tractors here today.
Too many tractors.
So here we've got a W6, which is American-built tractor. Would have come over in the war to help with the war effort, and 1945, so towards the end of the war.
Actually, towards the end of the war. Worked all its life over here.
Yes,
so
this one did. Yes,
it's an official import.
Yes. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And moving over here, we've got
We've got a Doncaster-built tractor here, which is a 634.
Yes.
Heavy tractor, 65, 66 horsepower. Low slogging engine. Yeah. But very, very powerful. Its predecessor, the B614, there behind.
Yeah. Now, all the tractors that we've seen so far, they're all these are all diesels, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a petrol.
That's a petrol one. Yeah. But the B250 was a diesel. This is a diesel. Now, International at the time used an indirect injection diesel engine, didn't they?
Yes.
Which were, if we're honest, notoriously quite hard starting at times.
These were harder starting. Those were better. If the glow plugs were in good order and the engine was in good order, I mean, my little B250 down there will start with 10 seconds of heat.
Really?
Straight up. Yeah.
One of the very first tractors I drove when I was a young man, a fledgling trying to get into the tractor job, it was about 12 or 13 years old, was a B414.
Yes.
And I remember that thing, the glow plugs didn't work very well.
No, but you only had one out and none of them would work, see? Yeah.
Maybe she was a bit... So this tractor here, we've got a WD9
WD9, that would be... it would be an import. Whether this was a wartime import, I don't know. Some did, but apparently the story is that the boatload of these coming over during the war was torpedoed.
Right,
and most of them ended up at the bottom of the ocean. So, yeah.
Never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again, sadly.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So
that's a big tractor for its time.
That is a big tractor.
That would have been a beast in the 1940s.
Yeah. So start on petrol, and then once it's running on petrol, it uses the heat of the exhaust manifold on the petrol to work as an intake to change over onto diesel. So it's tremendously,
it's a clever
in
they
its
use
day.
it on the crawler engine.
Yes.
I've seen it on the crawler engines, on the crawler tractors before.
Excuse me.
And it's that same engine principle.
Yes.
One side's a petrol and one side's a diesel.
Yeah.
Very innovative. Very, very intuitive. Here.
This first Doncaster-built diesel tractor, really. BMD probably came out a little bit before, but this was like more the standard version rather than the Farmall version.
Right, okay.
And this, 1954 was the first year of production of these.
It's quite interesting, really, that you look at this BWD6 and you sort of think, well, that's very, even, it's a little bit dated, it's very American, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you go down in there and you look at the little B250, which looks considerably more modern. I mean,
that's right,
it's not, this sort of design is a little bit, it's already dated, isn't it, essentially, by the 50s?
Yeah, it was.
Now, tell us the scoop on this thing.
Well, this is owned by one of our members who's a keen tractor puller and a very good engineer.
Yes, no doubt.
And he's built this out of a 946. I'm not sure on the breed of engine in there, actually.
Big.
It's big, yeah, but it's noisy. Big. It's big and noisy.
Right.
So, but if he was, it's a Cummins.
Cummins. On there, we've just sighted it. Wow, here we go.
Yeah. And we've even got an international milking machine in the back of this.
Wow. Now here's something a little bit unusual. It's funny that this has come up twice today. The Ferguson guys have got a little Scandinavian petrol 135 that's got a milking machine on the side of it. And now we've got a milker machine here, which is an International Harvester.
And this is one of our committee members. He's only just bought this.
Really? And
where
did he find it?
He found it via Facebook Marketplace. I'm not sure which part of the world, country, but it is in this country.
Right.
And
that's going to be as rare as hen's teeth.
It is. I've never seen another one.
No. I've never seen anything like that. That is quite a thing. Does it work?
I don't think it does, but he might get it up and running.
He might get it up and running, put it on a poor cow and then get mastitis as soon as he gets it.
If he can find a cow to milk, he'll have a go. So, and this is his 454 here.
Yeah, a lovely little track. Nice original one.
Nice original Doncaster built.
1977, I'm saying.
Yeah, something like that.
The cab on it.
3-cylinder.
Yeah.
52 horsepower.
Yeah, great little tractors,
Yeah.
weren't they?
Yeah.
Now, this is the worldwide series, which of course is very famous, and that's what really put International Harvester back on the map. Whereas I always felt that this thing never helped International Harvester at all.
No, it was behind its time.
Yeah, the B614 diesel was a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Essentially, I mean, no disrespect
No.
International Harvester fans or to the club, but I mean, I always felt these things were just...
Yeah. So, but a big, heavy tractor, and you needed a strong left leg to drive that. So.
Yeah. And of course, it shared many of the components used in the latest 634, but I always think International Harvester in the 60s was a mismatch.
Yes, that's right.
They didn't have a dedicated range like Ford or David Brown or Massey Ferguson. You know, by the mid 60s they all had them.
Yeah. So,
yes. Good to have seen a nice worldwide here. Coming down here, what have we got here?
We got a B275 here, which was brought out in 1958. This is a slightly later model. The B275 ran alongside the B250 until the introduction of the 414, and then the B250 was dropped from the range.
And then it was a 275 in the 414.
And the B275 stayed in production until 1968.
Did it
believe
really?
it or not. It had a long run. Very popular tractor, lot built, lot exported. Yeah. This is a lovely original tractor.
It's Evans Motors.
Yes, that's right.
Carmarthen.
Yeah. So,
that must be the original dealer.
Yes, it is. Yes.
You should take a lot of pride in those days.
Yeah.
She is a beautiful little tractor.
It is a lovely little tractor.
So, coming along here,
we've got a B414 then, which I've just said came out in 1961. A little bit more horsepower, 40 horsepower.
And then this one was this was replaced by the 434, which dropped the B, didn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
And that looked like a smaller version of the 634.
That's right.
Why did they drop the B?
I don't know. The B always stood for British.
Yeah.
And I suppose they were just trying to streamline things, weren't they? And get their ranges. And the 434 came out in 66 and replaced this 414. And it was a year later or 2 years later, the 276 came along in the same styling and replaced the 275. Oh, it's 68.
Really. So this, I can remember. This is the first tractor I ever drove.
Really? Yeah.
DAC 877C. I can still remember the number.
Yeah,
Of it. How
yeah.
is it funny that you were
Yeah.
14-year-old child or 13-year-old,
Yeah.
whoever I was at the time, and still remember that number?
Excuse me.
This tractor here, 434 with a
Four-wheel.
four-wheel drive conversion. Tell me about that.
Well, this is a 434. It is a genuine conversion. It's a factory conversion, not a aftermarket conversion. This was found on top of a scrappy, believe it or not, by the owner. I'm not quite sure of the year, but we think towards the end of the 434 build, because it was quite common for the 434's replacement, the treble 4, to come with four-wheel drive,
Right.
although they were all exported. There was nothing in this country.
So what's the four-wheel drive system that it uses?
I don't quote me on this, but I think it's Schindler, something to do with that.
Right.
But if the owner was here, he could
He'd
tell
tell
you
you.
a bit more. But isn't it a lovely, balanced looking tractor?
It is a nice little tractor,
Yeah.
isn't it? And very, very unusual. I don't think I've ever seen a four-wheel
Well,
drive version.
Manitou used a lot of IH skid units for their forklifts.
Forklifts, they did, I can remember
And
those
I
things.
think they used a similar axle, although it's different. It's a very similar axle on their four-wheel drive forklifts.
That's right, because essentially they built it the other way around, didn't they?
They did, yes,
And
yes,
they used
yeah.
to, they were actually, and that's another machine that many of us would have driven, those Manitou stacker trucks. I can remember
That's right.
as a young man driving those. They used to drive down the road backwards because they had this terrible hydrostatic steering with this orbital valve that just allowed the steering wheel to go round and round.
Yeah.
So we'd drive them backwards down the road because they went the same speed as forward, and they were safer to drive.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So,
In those days, I could actually turn round the other way. These days, I couldn't do it.
no. And to finish, we got one of the last years of production of the B275,
And
1968.
And this is a lovely tractor,
Yeah.
isn't it? Very original.
The later 275s went to cream wheels to match the 414.
Did they?
Yeah.
Very nice.
And is back to the B2. That's my own B250 there.
That's absolutely cracking.
I just bought that out of a dispersal sale in 2023. It had been laid up in a barn for over 30 years, never moved.
Now, I know for a fact that you and your father, or the family, are big international, obviously, because you're the chairman of this wonderful club, and it is great to see such a turnout, and well done to all the club members. But, you know, you've got quite a lot of little bits of international stuff at home, don't you?
Yeah,
You've got
yeah.
quite a collection.
Quite a
eclectic
collection. And
of
it's
stuff.
grown since you were there last.
Yes, that's right. It's been 10 years since I saw it, so we can safely say that International Harvest and McCormick International and that genre of tractors is well and truly in your blood, isn't it?
It is, without a doubt. It's born and bred in it.
Good.
Yeah.
Mark, thank
Nice
you
to meet
so
you again.
much
Yeah.
for bringing us down here.
That's all right.
What a great stand, and such lovely people for making us feel so welcome.
Thank you.
You saw it here.